This weekend marks 32 years since the Chinese communists ruthlessly crushed the student protests at Tiananmen Square, massacring the lives of many and the hopes and dreams of millions of Chinese people. This weekend in Hong Kong, where only a couple of years ago there would be at least a couple of thousand people, 180 or so thousand people holding vigils to commemorate the anniversary. Now the Chinese communists have crushed the memory of it, and anyone who dares to show up faces 5 years in jail. Tiananmen was, of course, where the famous Tank Man bravely confronted the tanks, one solitary individual who dared to stare down the steely might of the Chinese Communist state, armed against those tanks with nothing but a plastic shopping bag. We don't know what happened to the brave man, but it's a safe bet his fate was not dissimilar to the doctor who first blew the whistle on the coronavirus some 18 months ago and was soon mysteriously pronounced dead. Back in 1989, we all recognised China for the brutal, ruthless, totalitarian dictatorship it was, and the photo of Tank Man caused anger and outrage around the world. We hadn't yet developed this foolish fantasy encouraged here in Australia by Aldi shopping bags stuffed with cash handed around to Labor politicians and our universities that China would eventually become more like us once they'd had a taste of capitalism. What a joke. That was all part of the sleight of hand China pulled when they duped the British that they would keep the two systems that allowed Hong Kong to flourish as a capitalist powerhouse. That's all over now. But here's the irony. Rather than China becoming more like us, are we becoming more like them? Last year, we saw scenes in Victoria that I certainly never believed we would see in Australia. A police force as ruthless as in any tin pot totalitarian regime.
Now, you're under arrest in relation to incitement.
Incitement?
Yeah. What's that? Now, you're not obliged to say or do anything, but anything you say or do may be given evidence.
Excuse me, incitement for what? What on earth? Excuse me, what on earth?
Just put your phone down.
Can you,
record this? I'm in my pyjamas.
What's
I
this?
have an ultrasound in an hour.
Yeah, she's pregnant, so...
Choking me, dude! What the in the head! You're
What the are you doing? What the are you doing?
Police dragged Natalie Benet from her car.
Why are you arresting her? What's she doing? You've given me directions to move on based on the fact that I don't have a work permit. I have a work permit. You're not following the rules.
Leave my Don't break my stuff, you
And they broke down the door. The thuggery we have seen from the police, particularly in Victoria during the lockdowns, is chilling and shocked the free world. But it's not only the excessive use of physical force, it is the excessive use of authoritarian power. The police, rather than protecting the citizens, have become an extension of the government of Victoria, protecting the bureaucrats and the politicians, in this case the Labor Party, from facing much-needed criticism and legitimate lawful protest. But it's hardly surprising. This is the same leftist Premier, Dan Andrews, who has made no secret of his admiration for Communist China, going so far as to sign his secret Belt and Road deals, exposed to the world by this program, by the way, who also signed the entire state of Victoria up to the creepy and sinister UN Stronger Cities program. We need to look much closer at that. And the same Premier whose total disappearance since before Christmas after a bizarre incident has sparked an increasingly weird and feverish Melbourne rumour mill reminiscent of Soviet-era communism. The simple reality is that there is no scientific or science or scientific opinion that justifies the heavy-handed approach of the Victorian police to people who pose no genuine risk to public health and who are not at any serious risk of getting or spreading the virus. Yesterday, the Victorian police were at it again. This was at a demonstration against the fourth Victorian lockdown in Melbourne. Perfectly legitimate demonstration, especially when you consider that the reality around the world is now that more and more experts are claiming lockdowns simply do not work, and they don't have the data to back them up. This chart shows those US states that locked down over winter in blue and those that didn't in red. And it is unmistakable, despite whatever other factors may come into play, that statistically lockdown states have higher deaths per million than non-lockdown states. In my opinion, in the months or years to come, we will be seeing massive class actions against those states, particularly Victoria, that enforced lockdowns, decimated businesses, destroyed lives for no good reason whatsoever. Worse, and this is unforgivable, the Andrews government has used its political force to suppress legitimate debate and the freedom of the press. Avi Yemeni is a passionate young journalist for the YouTube Rebel News. He's been on Outsiders in the past. Avi has covered the overreach of the police, of the Victorian police, through all of Victoria's lockdowns, and I would argue that he not only has the right, but the professional duty to cover yesterday's demonstrations. Yet look what happened the night before, Friday night, before yesterday's demonstration. This is life in modern Melbourne. Avi got a Stasi-like knock on the door at 8:30 at night.
What's this?
Hi, Avi. My name's Alex. I'm from Dandenong Police Station. Just got a letter here for you.
You guys?
The Assistant Commissioner. It's in relation to the protest tomorrow, mate.
What's your name?
First Constable Alex Lyons from
Who
Dandenong.
we got here? So this is a letter to, what's it about?
It's in relation to the protest tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, so what's the letter you're sending me from the Commissioner?
The contents are for yourself to have a read.
Why is he sending me letters?
What's that?
Why is he sending me letters?
We've got several.
What time is it?
It is 8:30, mate. We've got several letters to deliver, so we're going to be off.
Are you going to Channel 7, Channel 9, are you going to Channel 10's house tonight?
No, mate, when...
So why are you coming to my house to deliver me a message about a protest tomorrow?
That's what we've been advised to do by the Commissioner.
So he advised. Where are you from?
Dandenong. We're all from Dandenong.
You're from Dandenong. So the Commissioner asked you directly to come to my house, a journalist, and to give me a letter warning me of what?
I don't know. It's in there. You've got to read it, mate. That's all
we've
Put aside the grotesque actions of a police commissioner having the power to decide which journalists may or may not attend an event, a totalitarian giveaway if ever there was one. But you know we have crossed a very dangerous and scary line when the police start deciding in advance who is likely to commit possibly a crime in the future. Reminds me a bit of the totalitarian goons in Tom Cruise's Minority Report.
What it is, you're looking for flaws. You ever get any false positives? We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
But they will.
The fact that you prevented it from happening doesn't change the fact that it was going to happen.
The system can't be wrong.
Now, Avi is a great journalist, a passionate free speech advocate, and let's be frank, he's a great showman as well. But he knows his rights, and he's not afraid to stand up to the excessive use of police authority. It's not quite as dramatic as the tank man with his plastic carrier bag standing up to the procession of communist tanks, but the principle is identical. One individual expressing his defiance of a brutal and oppressive state that has only one answer to dissent, and that is to crush it. Now, we'll never know what happened to Tank Man. Indeed, if big tech and their communist overlords get their sinister way, future generations may never even hear about Tank Man. You see, this week, approaching the anniversary of Tiananmen, Microsoft's search engine, the equivalent of Google, which is called Bing, was accused of wiping Tank Man's memory from history. On Friday, when Microsoft users in the US, Germany, Singapore, France and Switzerland tried to click on the iconic photos and video of Tank Man, or even tried searching for the phrase Tank Man, they were greeted by this message saying, "There are no results for Tank Man." He'd been cancelled. Microsoft later claimed it was human error, of course it was Microsoft, and that they were working to fix the issue. Microsoft's Bing, of course, is one of the few foreign search engines available in communist China. On the anniversary of Tankman's brave and defiant sacrifice, for big tech to appear to be playing along with the communist regime and wiping him from history is truly terrifying. But they're not all that surprising when you've seen big corporations such as Qantas refusing to call Taiwan, Taiwan, and media personalities, Hollywood stars, kowtowing to the Chinese communists' every wish and whim. But this abuse of power is what we have come to expect from the same class of big tech oligarchs who not only made fools of themselves by censoring the lab leak theory about the Wuhan virus and then had to backflip last week, but who are now also determined to prevent Donald Trump from communicating with the public during next year's midterm elections. It's clear our liberties and freedoms are under assault in a way I never thought we would see in Western democracies. On the anniversary of Tiananmen, remember Tankman and be grateful for every individual, every journalist, every pajama-clad man or woman who's brave enough to stand up and to speak up against the anti-democratic and anti-freedom forces that are crushing us, lining up against the rights and freedoms of the individual. Remember Tankman and his plastic carrier bags. Unless we're prepared to stand up against the overreach of petty authoritarians and overzealous bureaucrats, they will carry on trying to crush us, and we can't have that.